Hey guys, Squishy here. We have our standalone wins, my variant of the Zed Elusive deck mixed with the Fiora Shaper package that I used to climb to Diamond with just over 70% win, um, which worked pretty effectively for me. One of the key differences of this deck compared to the others is none of those 1 and 2 drops for that aggro base that the Zed normally goes with, and the Fiora no Shaper for the card draw, just because I wanted a deck that more so focused on mulliganing well, and then any card drawn after turn 3 to still be effective no matter what point of the game I was in, versus almost any matchup. And it's been working pretty well for me. So the the key signatures of the deck is we're trying to play standalone on one of our Fiora or Zed packages. Then we run 2 Solitary Monks just because of the when I'm summoned, recall other allies is probably the only card to that's a poor draw after we've already built our board, but still allows us to play um, in some scenarios where we need to restack our board versus like a Hecarim on turn 6 about to come in, or to also, if not drawing either Fiora or Zed allows us to drop a Shadow Assassin on turn 3 into a Solitary Monk turn 4 and get 2 draw options from the Shadow Assassin. So just some small plays from that. But to stick with the followers, we have Brightsteel Protector, which at any point of the game, giving a barrier for 2 mana, even though it's slow speed, the 3/2 body helps us with those Shadow Isles fearsome matchups, and then the Noxus decks that are just all over ladder right now. The extra body at that 2 point when you don't have standalone in your opening hand really helps for slowing down some of the damage from those decks so that we can build our board to get our win conditions going. Kinko Lifeblade, we have only a 2 of as well, just because it's not a necessary for us to win the matchup, but the lifesteal helps us out a lot versus other mid-range decks that we tend to race with, as well as the Freylord elusive deck on ladder. Also, Kinko Lifeblades into Judgments or Kinko Lifeblades into Twin Disciplines um, really help increase our like Nexus total for those matches. And but again, only a 2 of these Bright Steel cards and Kinkos are things that are not bad draws. They're just not our creme de la crop that we have with our Fiora and Zed and these spell options that are kind of mandatory for the ladder at the moment. The Laurent Bladekeeper, I originally had the Reposts and Will of Ionias at 3 times, but I felt that it wasn't good in every single matchup, and I felt like cards that are 3 times of should only be in a deck for cards that are good against every single matchup on ladder at the moment. So the +2/2 helps build another body versus those other mid-range decks, but the fact that it doesn't have the 3 attack to help defend against fearsomes, I really wanted to only keep it to a 2 of. We have the single combat just as a cheap way to play around the board that's won me countless matches, from people not wanting to swing minions into Fiora and giving me a free extra minion to kill so that she can get her 4 kills to auto win the game, as well as giving Zed, Laurent Bladekeeper, or Brightsteel Protector other ways of defending. Pretty standard. We have the other Twin Disciples +3 or +03, the standalone, which is the key of the deck for having such few minions, but making them easier to defend. Will of Ionia, we pretty much, if our deck is trying to be really huge on turns 3 and 4, but if we're not winning the board early on, saving up for a judgment clear, Will of Ionia lets us get that tempo to reach those later stages of the game. Riposte gives us a little extra reach as well as the extra barrier, so Fiora and Zed can just works perfectly for them. I mean, defends the unit and gives us +3. The really barrier is really only weak versus Shadow Isles at the moment for the ping that they have with Vile Feast, so it's pretty easy staple. Uh, Skipped over it, but the Relentless Pursuit. This was one of the harder ones for me to decide between being a 2 of and a 3 of, because every single time I had 3 in my hand, I'd be like, Christ, I need this card is doing me nothing. But this deck holds so well in the mid range at preventing damage with some of the cards that once you get to the later stages of the game, even if you have 3 Relentless Pursuits in your hand, all you need is one of your minions to stick, and then all of a sudden on turn 7 or 8, you're Relentless Pursuing 3 times in a row with a Zed who's just, they can only defend so many times, and he's swinging for 12 a turn. So the 3 of was an easy staple. Plus, there's so many matches where you can Relentless Pursuit on an opponent's attack phase for the turn 3, and then drop your Zed instead of standalone, hit them for 6. It goes right back into your turn, and then just hit them right back in the face with another 12, and their game is pretty much over from that standpoint. This deck seems to race against control decks pretty well, but just in case the draws are weak, deny of a 3 of is huge. Even with all the burst decks that seem to be going around, anytime playing around burst is easier than just assuming that everyone's running it. So running deny against War Mother control, for example, is almost an auto win every single time. And plus it allows you to be scarier versus mirrors when they're trying to Will of Ionia your units. Spirit's Refuge, with how prominent aggro is on the ladder at the moment, has to be a 3 of. It's just pretty much the only way to survive at the moment is by drawing this or Lifeblade, if especially if they're high rolling. And then Judgment to me is a board clear and a win condition in itself. Zed defending with a Judgment allows him to swing into an empty board next turn, which most cases is a win because of all of our buffs for him potentially. And then a Fiora Judgment into a bunch of spiders is an instant win that, especially when you're climbing through the silver and gold ranks, so many players don't think of the cards and gives you plenty of free wins. But that's the matchup. They'll be posting a lot of videos for how do I play this through multiple of the meta decks on ladder, but this is the package.